Well, it is certainly a great time to be an MMO fan, as we have yet another promising new MMO on the horizon. And this one is called Pax Dei. This one piqued my interest enough to do yet another everything known video about this MMO. Because, well, I'm clearly not covering enough unreleased MMOs at this point. The text version of this is on my website and has all the sources linked. You can find the link to my website in the video description. I've actually had this project on my horizon for a while. Last year I did a video where I had it as my 4th most anticipated upcoming MMO. I made that list because of its partners, its funding, and frankly because it's a Western developer. But after knowing more about it, it will certainly be moving up my list. Let's get into everything we currently know about this MMO. Pax Dei, which is Latin for the Divine Peace, is an upcoming sandbox cloud-native MMORPG being developed by a Nordic studio called Mainframe and is currently using Unreal Engine 5.1. They have gotten a lot of funding, totaling over $31 million from investors such as Andreessen Horowitz and Riot Games. They also have a partnership with Dreamhaven Studios. The world of Pax Dei is said to be inspired by the legends of the medieval era. The developers want the world to have a more grounded and realistic feel, but in this case, magic is a real part of this world. It might be similar to other low fantasy style games and not the fantastic over-the-top high fantasy style of games. Players will start their journey in Pax Dei in an area called the Heartlands. This is an area that is a PvP safe zone, and it is at a higher elevation from which players can see a very long ways. Anything the player can see, they can get to from these areas. The further you venture from the Heartlands, the greater the dangers. These dangers might include stronger NPC enemies, and they could include PvP areas potentially, but the exact PvP system is still unknown. The world of Pax Dei is said to be massive in scale. We don't know the exact size, but we know the Heartlands was said to be approximately 10 square kilometers in the MMORPG.com article. And we know that this part of the map is only one very small part of the map. Also from the same article, it was said that there might be potentially multiple Heartlands safe areas throughout the map, and not just in the starting area. The world will be broken up into individual shards, but the aim, according to MMORPG.com, is for the total player count per shard to be 20k per shard. From Discord, we also see that they are saying it will be bigger than 5k per shard at a minimum. Technology is in place to stitch servers together for various parts of the land. Spire, one of the developers on the official Discord, mentioned that each server might host a specific patch of land, and when you move to a different patch of land, you might go to another server. But in essence, there will still be separate servers. The stitching is a technical thing to decrease each server's load. The world is being developed using a semi-procedural approach. Developers still have some input, but some of the terrain and world building is done procedurally to speed up the development of the world. The visuals of the world use a modular approach, which can give the players a tremendous amount of agency when crafting and building in the world. Magic does exist in the world, and it takes on more forms than just in combat. How will the players themselves impact this sandbox world? Well, as a sandbox MMO, the players will set the tone for how the server develops. Players will craft the best gear, and players will build all the cities and the towns in the game. Quest giver NPCs will not be present. Quests will be delivered via notes found on items and other areas in the world. But the player stories involving cooperation and conflict will live on for a long time in these sandbox type of games, similar to what we have seen in EVE Online. As for available playable races, all players will be playing as humans. The developers want players to be able to do whatever they want and not be led down a linear progression path. They want solo and casual players to have a place in this world as well, and not only be a home for the hardcore players. They want the journey to matter and the game to not only be focused on the end game. However, reliance on other players is still a thing. You cannot do everything yourself. The game is initially being developed to run on PC and launch on Steam, but the ultimate goal is to have a cloud-based client that runs easily on any device. The game is already running on other platforms such as mobile. For monetization, the only thing we know is the developers have promised no pay to win, and they will not be selling time skips. As for the camera perspective, we know it is third person and that you can zoom in quite a bit. combat is action-based, but is more strategic and reactive, and gear does matter. Player knowledge plays a role in combat mastery. A stamina meter was mentioned in the Eurogamer article. Using a weapon increases your proficiency with it over time. The game seems to not use a class-based system and appears to use a system where a player's skills and abilities are based on the weapons and possibly the gear they are using, and how high they have leveled the gear and weapons. This is speculation, but it does not appear to be a class-based game, and it does not appear that alts are something that are needed, as one can just equip a different weapon and start to level it. This seems similar to New World, Throne and Liberty, or Final Fantasy XIV. There are 8 slots on the action bar, but it is not known how many skills a player will be able to slot. And the game does have a holy trinity. As already said, there are no quest NPCs, but there are enemy NPCs. Dungeons are confirmed. Raiding seems likely based on the MMORPG article. And the main attraction of the PvE system is said to be adventuring. There is a bit of confusion surrounding PvP, as we have seen some contradictory statements. PvP is said to be opt-in, but the method for opting in is not known. At the same time, it was said that by leaving the safety of the Heartlands area and venturing further into the wilderness, players could be exposed to greater dangers, including PvP. The MMORPG article also mentioned that certain zones have the laws lifted and PvP can happen there. This could mean some sort of karma system that is not enabled in certain areas. So it is not known whether opt-in is via a flagging system or whether certain zones have PvP always on. The developers themselves have stated that opting into PvP will be made very clear to players. The developers want there to be risk-reward tied to the PvP system. They also want the PvP to be geared towards player politics, with the PvE more about adventuring. The developers are also confident that the system will please both PvE and PvP players. And as for now, the developers are not considering separate PvE and PvP rule set servers. And what about crafting, professions, and player-run businesses? As already stated, players will make the best gear. Being a sandbox MMO with EVE Online roots, I would expect a lot of professions and a deep crafting system. So far we have seen a gathering profession, a mining pick on the hotbars, a hammer that could be a blacksmithing hammer or a weapon, and some sort of potion that presumably is player crafted. And from Discord it appears that brewing is very likely. Mining, lumbering, gathering, and farming are all confirmed. Mushrooms and reeds have been seen as gatherables in the world. Fiber, mushrooms, berries, meat, hide, bones, and lumber have been seen in the inventory. Crafting benches have also been seen, and they appear to have a tier system. The crafting system is built with a modular design that allows for high customizability by the players. Low-level resources will retain value, so it might be assumed they use a progressive crafting system where the lower tier materials are needed to craft higher tier materials and items. Discovery is said to be a part of crafting. Player-run businesses are said to be a thing, and player shops are also a thing. What about gearing? Power is not based on gear score, but gear will still matter. Gear will take damage and wear out over time and need to be repaired. The wear is visible on the gear's model in the game. Gear has tiers, which we have seen in the trailer. All items are freely tradable, and you must build your own storage. There is no bank. What do we know about the inventory system? Well, it is not known if the inventory is slot-based or weight-based. We have seen 24 bag slots, but we don't know if there is also a weight component to that. What about the building system? As stated before, players will build all the housing, cities, and towns in the game. Buildings will get damaged and wear out and need to be repaired. There is room for everyone to build in the world, but some areas might be better than others. Like the crafting system, the building system is highly customizable. Players will need to own a plot to build on, and if the plot does not exist, then the building will start to decay. If a structure is abandoned, it will become a free-for-all, meaning the world will not be filled with abandoned buildings. Buildings can be moved by the players as well, and there are many reasons why the players might want to do that. And mounts do seem like a real possibility. As for animals and companions, we don't know a lot of details other than that the devs have said that they are an integral part of the gameplay, and the interactions with animals go well beyond just the kill on sight of animals. As for clans, the game has a clan system which has been seen in the UI from the gameplay videos. Religions also appear to have some role in the game. This was mentioned in both the MMORPG article and hinted at in the Discord rules. What about sailing and naval combat? We know that lakes and rivers are confirmed, but ships and boats are not likely in the initial release, but there is some gameplay involving the water. What about playtesting? Some smaller scale invite-only tests have already happened, and signups for bigger tests are said to be happening soon. What languages will the game be available in? The game is initially going to be translated into English, French, and German. Future languages will be considered based on community feedback. And thankfully, blockchain is not a part of this MMO. And that covers absolutely everything we currently know about this MMO. I will definitely be following this MMO's development as I like a lot of what they have said so far. And be sure to check out the website for all the sources that I mentioned in this video. And again, the link to that website will be in the video description. And eventually I'm going to get everything transferred over from my Google Docs for all the other MMOs I've done and everything known about to the website as well. And I have some bigger things planned for the Ashes of Creation area as well on the website. So be sure to go check that out. And with that, guys, if you liked the video, consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video.